Hello friends, welcome to the Night Watchman channel. Today I'm going to tell you a terrifying and thrilling creepy horror story that will make you feel the chill of fear. If you enjoy my story, don't forget to like and subscribe so I can feel your love and support through your likes and subscriptions. I never thought working nights at Taco Bell could get under my skin the way it did. It wasn't supposed to be a scary job, just long hours, greasy uniforms, and endless drive-through orders. But that night, something changed the way I looked at late shifts forever. Back then, I was 24, living with my younger brother Ethan in a tiny apartment near Ming Avenue in Bakersfield, California. Rent was high, money was low, and fast food was the only thing keeping me afloat. I'd been at Taco Bell for almost 2 years, long enough to memorize every regular, every broken machine, and every flickering bulb in that old building. Our manager, Tracy, was the kind of woman who could juggle 6 things at once without breaking a sweat. She'd been working there since her 20s, now in her late 30s, still grinding. One more paycheck, she always said with a laugh that never reached her eyes. That night started like any other Friday. The rush from the college kids around 9 p.m., the drunk crowd by 11, and then the silence that made the hours between 1 and 3 a.m. feel endless. It was just me, Ethan, and Tracy working the closing shift. 3 people in a restaurant meant to run with 6. By 2:40 a.m., my feet burned and my back ached. The fryer sputtered like it was gasping for air, and the soda machine made that faint humming sound that always filled the empty space. Ethan sat at the counter, half asleep, while I wiped down the prep station. Tracy clapped her hands once. "All right, guys. We'll finish cleaning, eat, and head out by 3. Sound good?" "Yeah," I muttered, checking the clock. "I just want to sit down for 5 minutes." Ethan yawned. "Can we eat first?" "I'm starving." Tracy smiled, tired but kind. "You've earned it. Grab some tacos. I'll lock the doors." We sat down in a booth near the window, the one facing the empty parking lot. It was quiet except for the hum of the air vent and the occasional pop of oil from the fryer. I unwrapped my taco like it was a reward for surviving the night. My hands smelled like bleach and tortillas. That's when it started. A loud thud. Then another. It sounded like someone slamming their fists against the glass door. Ethan jumped. "What the hell was that?" Tracy stood frowning. "Probably someone drunk." "I'll handle it." She walked toward the entrance, keeping the door locked, and raised her voice through the glass. "Sorry, we're closed." The man outside didn't move. He stood there, maybe in his mid-30s, wearing a dark hoodie and jeans that looked dirty. Not just worn, dirty like he'd been sleeping in them. His hair stuck out in uneven tufts. His eyes, that's what got me. They were wide and unblinking, like he hadn't slept in days. "Please," he said, voice muffled through the door. "I just need to eat." "Please," Tracy shook her head. "Kitchen's closed. Come back tomorrow." He didn't argue. He just pressed his palms to the glass and stared. For a long, uncomfortable moment, no one spoke. Then quietly he said, "Let me in." Tracy took a step back. "Sir, you need to leave." He didn't move. His face hovered inches from the glass, eyes darting between Tracy and me. Then suddenly he turned and walked away, but not far. Just out into the parking lot, pacing under the flickering streetlight. We all stood frozen for a few seconds. "Creepy," Ethan muttered. "Probably homeless." "Yeah," Tracy sighed. "He'll leave soon." But he didn't. Minutes passed. Then 10. Then 20. The man kept circling back toward the doors, sometimes disappearing into the dark, sometimes pacing near the drive-through lane. He never went to a car. He never sat down, just watched. Every time I looked up from cleaning, he was there again, sometimes closer than before. "Tracy," I whispered after a while, "shouldn't we call security or something?" "For what?" she said without looking up from the register. "He's not breaking anything." I didn't like it. The way he moved felt deliberate, like he was waiting for something or someone. By 3:05 a.m., we were finishing up. Ethan took the trash out back, and I wiped down the counters. I glanced toward the door again. The man was gone. I froze. "Tracy," I said quietly, "he's not there anymore." She looked up. "Gone?" "Yeah, just vanished." We all went still for a moment, listening. The hum of the soda machine filled the silence. Ethan came back in a minute later, dragging the trash bin. "You guys see that?" "See what?" I asked. "There's something under the bridge," he said, pointing through the window. "Thought it was a shadow, but I don't know. Something's down there." Tracy frowned and grabbed the keys. "We'll check before we leave." "Come on." We finished closing in record time. Lights off, registers locked, alarms set. Then we stepped outside together. The air was cool, still, the smell of asphalt and grease thick in the night. The parking lot looked empty, but I could feel it. That weird pressure in my chest, like we weren't alone. "Let's just get to our cars," Tracy said. Her voice was tight. As we crossed the lot, a sound echoed from somewhere behind the building. A dull scrape, like metal dragging against concrete. Ethan stopped. "Did you hear that?" "Don't," Tracy said, eyes wide. "Just keep walking." We hurried. I could feel eyes on us. When I turned to look, I saw something move near the dumpster. Just a shape, barely visible, but taller than it should have been. We jumped into our cars and locked the doors. I started my engine, but before I backed out, I saw something in my headlights. A figure standing at the far end of the lot. The man. His hoodie was gone now. His shirt was torn. He stood perfectly still, watching as our headlights swept over him. His mouth moved, forming words I couldn't hear. I pressed the gas. I didn't stop until I was home. I didn't sleep that night. Neither did Ethan. We didn't even talk about it until days later. But that wasn't the last time something strange happened at that Taco Bell. A year earlier, before Ethan started working there, I'd had another late shift. It was quiet just before closing when a guy came in. Early 30s, smiling, jittery with energy. He ordered 3 burritos, a large Baja Blast, and chatted while I worked the register. "You heading out of town?" I asked, just making small talk. He grinned. "Something like that. Gotta fuel up before the jump." "The jump?" He winked. "You'll see." He left, and I didn't think much of it. Not until the next morning, when the local news reported that a base jumper had died overnight. His parachute hadn't opened. He jumped off the bridge over the canyon just past midnight. They showed his photo. It was him, the same guy, the one who smiled at me, the one who said he was fueling up before the jump. I told myself it was just coincidence. But sometimes when I drive by that bridge, I think about both of them. The man who wouldn't leave, and the one who never came back. And I can't shake the feeling that maybe they were the same man, just coming back for what he left unfinished. Story 2, I never thought a craving for cheap fast food could end up haunting me. But here I am, nearly 3 years later, still replaying that night in my head like a scratch record that won't stop skipping. I don't even like talking about it anymore. It feels cursed somehow. But sometimes when I drive down an empty road late at night and see those glowing purple Taco Bell signs, something inside me twists. Because that night, in that quiet stretch of Mississippi Highway, we nearly lost more than just our appetite. It started simple. A road trip. My best friend Lena and I had been planning it for months. We were both 26, burned out from our office jobs in Charlotte, North Carolina, and desperate for a break. The plan was to drive down to Austin, Texas, stopping at random small towns, diners, and roadside attractions along the way. It was supposed to be fun, the kind of messy, freedom-soaked trip you take once in your 20s before life ties you down for good. That Friday morning, we loaded up my old silver Toyota Camry with snacks, energy drinks, a stack of old playlists, and too much optimism. We laughed through the first few hours, windows down, music loud, sun glaring off the windshield. By the time we hit the Mississippi border, though, the day had soured into exhaustion. The endless asphalt started to blur, and the sky had melted into that deep indigo shade that means you should have stopped hours ago. Lena was scrolling on her phone, trying to find a motel. "No service again," she groaned. "Try hotspot," I said, rubbing my eyes. My voice came out hoarse. She frowned at the screen. "Nothing. Not even 3G. Seriously, do people live out here?" I smirked, though I felt uneasy too. The 2-lane road stretched straight ahead into black nothingness, framed by fields and thin tree lines. No other cars, no streetlights, just the low hum of tires against pavement and the faint sound of cicadas outside. "Let's just find food first," I said finally. "We can't think straight on empty stomachs." As if on cue, a glowing green highway sign appeared up ahead. "Exit 207, food gas." "Lodging. Perfect," Lena said with relief, sitting up. "You see? The universe provides." But she didn't know how wrong she was. We took the exit, and immediately the world felt different. Quieter, heavier. The ramp curved into a small road lined with old brick buildings, all dark. It wasn't a ghost town exactly, but it was close. The gas station on the corner had one flickering light and a single car parked near the pump. An old mud-colored Chevy truck with its door slightly ajar. No one inside. Lena leaned forward, whispering, "Creepy." "Probably just a local," I said, forcing a laugh that didn't sound right even to me. Then just past the gas station, we saw the purple glow of salvation. A Taco Bell, its 24-hour sign bright against the night. "Oh, thank God," Lena sighed. "Finally." But when we pulled into the parking lot, my stomach tightened. The building looked off. The fluorescent lights inside flickered, casting jerky flashes of white across the counter. No other cars, no movement, just the faint buzzing of the drive-thru speaker cutting through the silence. "You sure it's open?" Lena asked, half joking, half hoping. "Sign says 24 hours, I said, trying to convince both of us. I rolled down my window and pulled up to the speaker. Static. Then after a pause, a deep, muffled voice. "Welcome to Taco Bell. Can I take your order?" "Yeah, hey," I said. "Can we get—" And that's when I froze. Somewhere behind the static, faint, buried under the hum, came a sound. A scream. Not a playful shriek or some glitch of the intercom. A real human scream. Short, desperate, and abruptly cut off. Lena turned toward me, eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. I nodded slowly, my chest tight. The speaker crackled again. "We're closed," the voice said flatly. "What?" "But your sign, the sign's wrong," the man interrupted, sharper this time. Lena whispered, "Let's go." Now, but something in me, that mix of fear and curiosity that gets people in trouble, wouldn't let me leave. "Hold on," I muttered, pulling forward toward the front of the restaurant. The lobby lights were dim, flickering like they were running on dying batteries. I could make out shapes, tables, chairs, and movement. Someone pacing behind the counter. "Tyler!" Lena hissed. "Don't!" I opened my door anyway. The night air hit me like a wall, heavy, humid, and carrying the faint scent of oil and something metallic. The front door was locked, but as I got closer, a figure stepped into view. A man, not wearing a Taco Bell uniform, just a dark hoodie with the sleeves pushed up. His forearms were tattooed, his posture rigid. He stared at me through the glass, not blinking. I raised a hand, trying to act casual. "Hey man, you open." He shook his head once. "The sign says 24-hour, I pressed. He tilted his head slightly, eyes narrowing. "The sign's wrong," he said again. His lips barely moved. Then behind him, just for a second, I saw something. A shadow. A person crouched near the soda machine. A woman. Her eyes wide, terrified. She mouthed something. "Help me." My blood ran cold. Before I could react, the man turned, following my gaze. The woman ducked out of sight. When he turned back to me, his face had changed. The fake calm was gone. "You should go," he said, voice low, almost a growl. "Sir?" I stammered. He stepped closer to the door. "I said, leave." I stumbled backward, heart hammering. Then from inside, another scream tore through the air. Louder this time, unmistakable. Lena's voice cut through from the car. "Tyler, get in!" The man's face twisted into something. Not quite anger, not quite fear. Before he lunged forward, slamming his hand against the glass. I didn't wait. I ran. Lena had already slid into the driver's seat by the time I jumped in. She floored it, tires screeching as we tore out of the lot. For a long minute, neither of us spoke. Just the sound of the engine roaring and my heartbeat pounding in my ears. "What the hell was that?" she finally yelled, her voice shaking. "I don't know," I gasped. "Someone inside. She looked like she needed help." Lena was breathing hard, knuckles white on the wheel. "We're calling the cops." She pulled over on the shoulder, hands trembling as she dialed 911. I could barely focus, staring at the empty fields outside the window, the faint purple glow of the Taco Bell sign fading behind us. When the dispatcher picked up, Lena explained everything. The scream, the man, the woman hiding behind the counter. They told us to wait where we were. 20 minutes later, red and blue lights streaked past us, racing toward the exit we just fled. We followed from a distance. By the time we got back to the Taco Bell, 2 police cars were parked outside. The glass door was shattered. Officers were moving fast, flashlights sweeping through the building. One of them waved us over. "You the ones who called?" he asked. We nodded. He let out a breath, shaking his head. "You two did good. Real good." He gestured toward the back of the building, where 2 officers were leading out a man in handcuffs. The same guy from before, hoodie still on, his expression blank. "Caught him mid-robbery," the officer said. "Had one of the employees knocked out, another tied up in the back. You probably saved her life." I just stared as they shoved the man into the back of a cruiser. He turned his head, just slightly, and for a second, our eyes met through the window, and he smiled. We stayed at a motel that night, barely talking. Neither of us could sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that woman's face. Those words, "Help me." The next morning, an officer called to update us. The employee, her name was Maria Torres, 28, had survived. She'd managed to call 911 from the bathroom after we left. The suspect was a drifter with a record. Armed robbery, assault. He'd broken in after hours, forced the staff to reopen the register. The mail manager had tried to stop him and got pistol whipped. Maria might have died if we hadn't stopped. That should have made me feel better, but it didn't. Because later, while Lena slept, I scrolled the local news article about the incident. There was a photo, police lights flashing outside that same Taco Bell. And in the blurry background, near the edge of the building, something caught my eye. A figure, standing just beyond the light. Tall, still, head tilted toward the camera. A dark hoodie. The caption said the suspect was already in custody when the photo was taken. I shut off my phone and sat there in the dark motel room, heart hammering. I told myself it was nothing. A trick of the light, a bystander. But deep down I knew. That smile I'd seen in the police car wasn't fear. It wasn't anger. It was a promise. Even now, years later, every time I pass a Taco Bell late at night, I feel it. That same cold grip at the base of my spine. I don't stop anymore. Not for food, not for anything. Because sometimes your instincts aren't just paranoia. Sometimes they're the only thing keeping you alive. Hello friends, I hope you're enjoying this story. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please hit the subscribe button so you can get a new story every day. Story 3, I was 18 when I left home for good. People talk about wanting freedom, but mine didn't come from dreams. It came from exhaustion. My parents had been fighting for years, loud enough that the walls in our little house felt thinner every day. Money problems, affairs, lies. I don't even remember when it all stopped surprising me. By the time I finished high school, I knew that if I didn't get out, I'd end up breaking too. So I packed 2 suitcases, grabbed my savings from a part-time grocery job, and took a bus headed west. I didn't have a plan, just a vague idea that I'd end up somewhere new, somewhere where nobody knew my name or what I came from. That somewhere turned out to be Albuquerque, New Mexico. It wasn't what I expected. The air felt drier, the sky looked wider, and everything smelled faintly like dust and diesel. My first few days were rough. A cheap motel, job applications, long walks to the bus stop in 100-degree heat. I was lonely but too proud to admit it. That changed when I met Maya. I met her online, of all places, a Facebook group for locals under 25. She commented on a post I made about looking for restaurant work and sent me a message. "Taco Haven is hiring night shift. It's boring but chill. Come in tomorrow. Tell them Maya sent you." That was how we met. Through a random message that changed everything. Maya was the kind of person who filled every room she entered. 5'2", bright green hair, always chewing gum, and talking like the world was a joke she was in on. She worked nights at Taco Haven, a fast food place just off Central Avenue, open until 3 a.m. Less customers, less drama, she'd said. Just weirdos sometimes. I got a small apartment about 10 minutes from the place, and soon Maya and I were inseparable. We'd hang out after her shifts, cheap beer, loud music, laughing until sunrise. For the first time in months, I felt alive again. But things at home, even 800 miles away, had left scars. I didn't trust easily, especially not Evan, my new boyfriend. At first, he was perfect. Attentive, funny, protective. Then came the little things. Checking my phone, just to make sure, showing up unexpectedly at my job, getting angry when I didn't reply right away. Maya didn't like him. "You ever notice how he looks at people like he's planning something?" she asked once. I shrugged it off. Love makes you blind, or maybe just desperate for peace. It was late, past midnight on a Tuesday. The restaurant was empty, the floor shining from fresh mop water. I sat in a booth scrolling through my phone, waiting for Maya to clock out. My Dr. Pepper had gone flat, and the neon open sign flickered like it was tired of pretending. That's when the door opened. A tall man walked in, easily over 6 feet, wearing a long army green coat despite the heat. His beard was gray, uneven, and reached halfway down his chest. His eyes were pale, almost cloudy, like he'd stared at the sun too long. He carried no food bag, no phone, no wallet in hand. He just walked in, looked around, and sat at the booth directly across from me. I tried to look busy, but my stomach tightened. Something about him felt wrong. Not homeless wrong, not drunk wrong. Just wrong in a way I couldn't explain. I texted Maya, "That guy across from me is creeping me out." She peeked from behind the counter and texted back, "Yeah, he's been here before." Just sits, never talks, then jokingly, "You're fine, he's probably harmless. Just don't make eye contact, LOL." But I already had, and he was staring straight at me. Maya walked over, trying to sound firm. "Sir, you need to order something if you're staying," she said. He looked up slowly, expression blank. Then in a gravelly voice that sent chills up my spine, he said, "I already have what I came for." Maya blinked. "Excuse me?" He didn't repeat it, just reached into his coat, pulled out a crumpled $5 bill, slapped it on the counter and muttered, "Coffee." Black She glanced at me, uneasy, then turned to make the drink. I watched him sip it, slowly, eyes never leaving me. Every time I looked away, I could feel them, those eyes, waiting. By 1:30 a.m., the parking lot outside was empty except for Maya's old Corolla. She was cleaning up, humming softly. I was starting to feel stupid for being scared. The guy had finished his coffee and was still sitting there, unmoving. "You ready?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Yeah, just locking up," she said. We headed toward the door. I heard the sound of a chair scraping behind us. When I turned, he was standing. "Maya," I whispered. "Don't look," she muttered. "Just walk." We stepped outside, the humid night air heavy on our skin. The streetlight above flickered. I felt the weight of his gaze even through the glass door behind us. That's when my phone buzzed. A Facebook message request. No profile picture. Name, Tom Williams. The message read, "You shouldn't run." I'm faster, I froze. My throat went dry. Another message appeared seconds later. "I know where you live, Claire." My real name, not the nickname on my profile. Attached were photos. Me walking to my bus stop, buying coffee at the 7-Eleven, sitting on my apartment balcony. Different days, different outfits. One picture was of me and Maya in the restaurant, taken that same night. I couldn't breathe. "Maya," I whispered, showing her the screen. She went pale. "How the hell?" Headlights flashed behind us. A white van rolled slowly into the parking lot, its engine humming. The same green coat was visible through the windshield. "Run," I said. "Now!" We sprinted across the lot, sneakers slapping against the asphalt. I could hear the van revving, tires screeching. We turned down the side street toward Maya's apartment complex. My lungs burned, heart pounding so loud I could hear nothing else. Go! Go! I screamed, pulling her arm. The van turned the corner, engine roaring, headlights slicing through the dark. Maya tripped on the curb, falling hard. Shit! My ankle! I helped her up, fumbling for her keys. The van screeched to a stop behind us, the door sliding open with a metallic slam. We reached her apartment door just as heavy footsteps hit the stairs. My hands shook as I dug through her bag. Where are they? Maya cried. I got them! I jammed the key into the lock. The door swung open. We stumbled inside and slammed it shut just as something hit the wood from the outside, hard enough to rattle the frame. Then came the laughter, low, wheezing, right outside the door. Maya dialed 911, voice trembling. There's a man. He's trying to break in, please. Bang! Another hit. The chain lock snapped. I grabbed a kitchen knife from the counter, shaking so bad I could barely hold it. Stay in the back, I whispered. Closet. Now we hid in the small hallway closet, breathing so shallow it hurt. The air felt heavy, thick with dust and fear. Footsteps creaked across the living room. Then his voice soared closer than ever. Come out, girls. I just want to talk, Maya whimpered. He started humming. Off-key, tuneless. Then, it's rude to hide from guests. Something crashed in the kitchen, glass shattering. Then the sound of metal scraping, drawers opening. He was searching. For us. I gripped Maya's hand, tears running down my face. I could hear my own heartbeat. Then sirens, faint but growing. Police! Open up! The noise outside froze him. For a second, silence. Then, the sound of retreating footsteps, the back door slamming open. Officers burst in moments later, flashlights sweeping through the rooms. When the closet door opened, I screamed. But it wasn't him. It was a police officer. You're safe now, he said softly. We've got him. They found him a few blocks away. The van was parked behind a dumpster. Inside, they discovered rope, duct tape, 3 knives, and a vial labeled Rohypnol. His name wasn't Tom Williams. It wasn't even close. He was a 51-year-old drifter with a record for stalking and assault. The police said he'd been living out of that van for months, moving city to city, targeting women working late shifts. On his phone were hundreds of photos, mostly of strangers, all taken without their knowledge. And in one folder, labeled Albuquerque, were pictures of me and Maya. The officers said we were lucky. If we'd been 5 minutes later, one of them told me, you wouldn't be standing here. Lucky. That word stuck with me. I didn't feel lucky. I felt hollow. For weeks, I couldn't sleep without checking the locks 3 times. Maya quit her job. I deleted all my social media accounts. It's been 3 years now. I've moved again. Another state, another name on the mailbox. But sometimes when I walk into a diner late at night, I still feel it. That prickling sense that someone's watching from just outside the window. And sometimes in the quiet, I swear I can still hear his laugh. That same low wheezing sound echoing in my head. Story 4, I never planned to stay in Clearwater longer than a summer. The city had this strange, almost artificial charm. Bright beachside colors, palm trees swaying like something out of a postcard. And yet, something always felt off beneath the surface. I had come here for a few months just to earn enough money before transferring to a university upstate. My cousin Jamie worked at a Taco Bell on Gulfview Boulevard, right near the edge of town, and helped me land a job on the evening shift. I was 21 then. Restless, half broke, and convinced that life was just something to get through. I didn't believe in ghosts, or fate, or any of that stuff. Back then, the only thing that scared me was running out of gas or getting stuck in traffic on my way to class. But the things I saw that summer, especially that last night, changed the way I look at the world forever. By June, the routine was second nature. Clock in at 6 p.m., deal with the dinner rush until 10, then clean up and hold down the fort until close at 3 a.m. The crew was small, just 4 of us on most nights. Jamie, my cousin, who handled the register. Ethan, the shift lead, a sarcastic guy in his late 20s with a bad nicotine habit. And Kara, who ran the drive-thru window, always with her earbuds in, mouthing the words to whatever sad pop song was on repeat. That night started like any other. It was a Thursday in mid-July, humid enough that the air felt heavy in your lungs. The kind of night when the parking lot shimmered from the heat even after midnight. The lobby was empty as usual. Clearwater wasn't exactly buzzing at 2 a.m., except for the gas stations and the occasional drunk tourists stumbling from bars near the beach. Ethan was wiping down the prep counter, humming to himself. "Man, can't wait to get out of here," he muttered. "I swear this place feels cursed after 2. Jamie snorted. "You say that every night." "I mean it," Ethan said, glancing toward the drive-thru monitor. "You ever notice how weird this camera feed gets? Like the static or something flickering when no one's out there?" Kara rolled her eyes. "It's called bad wiring. Genius, I didn't say anything." "I'd noticed it too. Sometimes the drive-thru camera would buzz or glitch like someone was moving in front of it. But when you looked outside, the lot was empty. Still, I brushed it off. After all, we were working at a fast food joint, not in a horror movie. It was 2:54 a.m. We were minutes from closing. The floor was mopped, trash bags tied up, and the fryer was cooling down. I was counting the drawer when the headset on Kara's ear suddenly beeped. She groaned. "Oh, come on, 5 minutes to close?" "Probably some drunk wanting nachos," Ethan said, yawning. Kara hit the mic button. "Welcome to Taco Bell. What can I get started for you?" Silence. We all waited, no reply. Kara frowned and checked the screen. "There's a car." I walked over and looked. Sure enough, a silver sedan sat at the order box. The headlights were dim, and through the grainy camera you could just make out the outline of the car. But something was wrong. The driver's window wasn't rolled down. No one spoke. No movement at all. Kara tried again. Whenever you're ready to order." Still nothing. Ethan sighed. "Maybe they fell asleep." Jamie leaned closer. "Then how's the car idling?" That's when the driver's window slowly rolled down with a creak. We all leaned in. The driver's seat was empty. For a moment, no one said anything. I thought maybe I was imagining it, but then Kara whispered, "What the hell?" The seat was empty. Completely. No shadow, no movement, just an engine humming softly, and the window rolled halfway down like someone invisible had done it. My stomach turned cold. "Maybe someone's hiding low," I suggested. Ethan shook his head. "No one's in there, man." Then as we stared, the car started moving. Slowly the sedan rolled forward, steady and smooth, like someone was pressing the gas. Kara ripped off her headset. "That's not funny." Ethan stepped to the window, peering out. "Who's doing that?" The car pulled up to the payment window, still empty. The hum of the engine filled the air, low and eerie. And then, knock, knock, knock. 3 hard knocks on the glass. Kara screamed. Ethan jumped back, his face pale. What the hell was that? No one was outside. No one was at the window. I could feel my heartbeat in my throat. Every instinct screamed to get out. But Ethan, being the only one with any authority, opened the blinds slightly. His hands trembled. The car was right there. Engine still running. Driver's seat empty. Then I saw something move. In the back seat, just barely, a shadow leaned forward. A face. Pale, hollow, with wide, empty eyes. Watching. I froze. Kara whispered, "Do you see it?" Before I could answer, the car started moving again, rolling past the window toward the exit. As it turned toward the street, the headlights flickered off, then back on, and the car disappeared down the empty road. Silence filled the restaurant. No one spoke for a long time. Ethan finally said, "Lock everything." Now I didn't sleep that morning. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that face again. By the next evening, I'd convinced myself it had to be a prank. Maybe someone remote-controlled the car, or we'd hallucinated it out of exhaustion. But the next night, something made me drive back. I wasn't scheduled to work. I just needed to know. I parked across the street, engine off, lights out, waiting. The Taco Bell glowed under the fluorescent lights, the purple sign flickering like a dying bulb. At 2:50 a.m., the crew inside, new faces that night, started closing up. Then right on time, a silver sedan pulled into the drive-thru lane. My blood ran cold. Same make, same dull headlights. It rolled up to the speaker box and stopped. No movement, no sound. The window didn't roll down. Then just like before, it started moving forward, slowly, toward the pickup window. I could see the driver's seat clearly from where I was parked. Empty. My breath came shallow and fast. Then I saw it again. The same pale face, same hollow grin, sitting in the back seat, staring out the window toward the restaurant. I tried to film it. My hands were shaking so bad the phone almost slipped. But when I looked at my screen, nothing showed. The car wasn't even there, just an empty parking lot. The sedan rolled out of the lane and vanished into the dark street like it had melted into the night. I didn't move for a long time. I tried to tell Jamie the next day. He stared at me, confused. "You're saying a ghost car came through the drive-thru?" "I saw it, Jamie." "Twice." He laughed nervously. "Man, maybe you need a break. You've been pulling doubles, but when I mentioned the face..." He stopped laughing. "Wait, you saw it too?" "What do you mean?" Jamie looked around, then leaned in. "Ethan said he saw something once, a couple weeks before you started. Thought it was a homeless guy sleeping in the back of a car. But when he went to check, there was nothing there. The car disappeared before he got to the lot. It wasn't just me. A few days later, I came back to drop off some paperwork. Kara had quit. No notice, no explanation. Ethan transferred to another location 2 towns over. The manager said business was fine, but every night around 3 a.m., the drive-through cameras still glitched for a few seconds, always at the same time. A few months later, I finally dug into it. Clearwater wasn't a big place. People talked. I found an old article buried online from 2006. A man named Robert Keller had died in a crash just a mile from that Taco Bell. He'd fallen asleep at the wheel after working a double shift. His car, a silver 2004 Toyota Camry, rolled through an intersection and hit a pole. The report said he'd been on his way home. After grabbing food from that same Taco Bell, he never made it to the window. The time of the accident, 2:55 a.m. It's been 4 years since that summer. I moved away, finished school, started working full-time. But sometimes on long drives home, I'll pass a fast food place glowing in the dark. Empty parking lot, quiet streets, and I'll feel that same chill run down my spine. A few months ago, I was heading home from work around 3 a.m. The highway was deserted. I stopped at a red light near a small shopping center, and that's when I saw it, a silver sedan, sitting in the drive-through lane of a closed Taco Bell. No lights on, no one inside. I watched it in my mirror. The car's headlights flicked on, and for just a moment, I saw movement in the back seat, that same pale grin reflected in the glass. When I blinked, it was gone. The car, the light, everything, just the hum of the night and the empty road ahead. Story 5. I never thought a late-night food run could change the way I saw the world. If you'd told me 6 years ago that I'd still get chills every time I passed a Taco Bell sign, I would have laughed. But that night in Belridge, Arizona, yeah, that night left a scar I can't explain away. I was 12 then, riding shotgun in my stepdad's old Ford Ranger, the desert wind humming through the half-cracked window. The air smelled like dry dust and motor oil. We just spent the weekend visiting my aunt in Yuma, and the 2-hour drive back to our small town felt endless. I remember the way the headlights carved long, pale tunnels through the darkness, the radio crackling between classic rock stations. Mike, my stepdad, tapped the steering wheel in rhythm with the song. "You hungry, kiddo?" he asked. I shrugged, still half lost in thought. "A little," he smiled. "There's a Taco Bell up ahead. Might be the last place open this late." It was around 9:20 p.m. The sun had long dipped behind the mountains, leaving the sky bruised purple and black. The fluorescent glow of the fast food signs on the highway looked almost welcoming. Almost. "Sure," I said, though something inside me twisted. I didn't hate Taco Bell, never had, but some part of me never felt right in those kinds of places. Maybe it was the smell of grease and floor cleaner, or maybe it was what my mom used to call bad energy. She said it ran in our family, that the women in our bloodline could feel when something wasn't right. I used to roll my eyes at that kind of talk, but that night I wished I hadn't. The Belridge Taco Bell sat off Route 67, right next to a half-abandoned strip mall. Half the sign outside was burned out, so it read, a COBE. The parking lot was surprisingly full for that hour, maybe a dozen cars, their windows fogged up from the cool night air. Mike parked near the entrance, stretching as he got out. "Go grab us a table," he said. "I'll order." The moment I walked inside, the warmth hit me, mixed with that unmistakable smell of seasoned beef and fryer oil. A crowd filled the narrow space between the door and counter. It was loud, bright, and buzzing with conversations and orders being shouted out. I slipped through the people, scanning for a free table. Near the far window, I spotted one, small, tucked away in the corner. I sat down, pulled out my phone, and started scrolling. After a minute or two, I felt someone sit down across from me. I looked up. It was a boy, maybe around my age, maybe a little younger. Pale skin, dark brown hair, a gray hoodie that looked worn thin. He smiled. "Hey." I blinked, caught off guard. Uh, hey." He didn't have any food, no drink, nothing on the table, just sitting there staring at me like he knew me. "You from around here?" he asked casually. "Yeah," I said slowly. "You?" He nodded. "Used to be." Something about the way he said that made my stomach tighten. "Used to be." "What school you go to?" he asked, like this was the most normal thing in the world. "Belridge Middle." "You?" "Was at Ridgeway," he said, "before they closed it." I frowned. Ridgeway had been shut down at least 4 years earlier. He would have been just a kid back then. Before I could say anything else, one of the workers called an order number, and a group of teens walked past, glancing at us. Not just quick looks, long, uneasy stares. One girl even whispered something to her friend and pointed subtly toward our table. I shifted in my seat. "People keep looking at us," I said. He smiled faintly. "They don't usually notice." "Notice what?" Before he could answer, Mike's voice broke through the noise. "Tyler, let's go." I stood up, relieved. "Nice talking to you, man." He smiled again. "Yeah. See you around." Mike handed me a bag of food as I climbed into the truck. "You make a friend in there?" "Kind of," I said, buckling in. Some kid sat down and started talking to me. He chuckled. "Small towns, huh?" We pulled out of the lot. As we turned onto the road, I glanced back at the restaurant. The boy was standing at the window looking out at me. He lifted a hand in a small wave. I hesitated, then waved back. As the truck rolled past the next set of windows, he was gone. The streetlights flashed across Mike's face as he drove, humming along with the radio. I stared down at the bag in my lap, suddenly not hungry. "Everything good?" he asked. "Yeah, just tired." But I wasn't tired, I was uneasy. As we passed the far side of the parking lot, my eyes caught something near the curb, a small shape surrounded by candles. I turned my head, squinting. "Wait," I said. "Stop the truck." Mike frowned. "What?" "Just pull over." He slowed and pulled onto the shoulder. I stared through the window. Beneath the glow of a street lamp sat a small memorial. Flowers, a teddy bear, melted candles, and a framed photo. The photo made my blood run cold. It was him, the boy. "Mike," I whispered. "That's him." "That's who?" "The kid I was just talking to." He looked at the memorial. "You sure?" My hands were shaking. I pulled out my phone and searched Belridge Taco Bell accident. The first article that popped up was dated 3 years earlier. Tragic accident claims life of local 11-year-old. The boy was waiting inside the Taco Bell for his parents, who briefly stepped out to run an errand. He wandered outside and was struck by a speeding car. He died at the scene. There was a photo. The same face. The same hoodie. I dropped my phone onto my lap, my chest tightening. Mike looked at me. "Tyler, what's going on?" He was there," I said, my voice cracking. "He sat right across from me." Mike didn't say anything for a while. He just drove. A week passed, then 2. I didn't tell my mom what happened. She'd only worry. But I couldn't stop thinking about that boy, about the way people stared at us, about the way he said, "They don't usually notice." One afternoon, I took my bike into town. I didn't plan it. I just ended up near that Taco Bell. The memorial was still there. New flowers had been added, fresh candles too. Through the window, I could see families eating, laughing, scrolling through their phones. Everything looked normal, except for the table near the window. Empty. But then, as I looked closer, I saw it, the faint outline of someone sitting there. A flicker, like a reflection that didn't belong. And for a split second, I thought I saw him again, staring out at me, the same soft smile on his face. I went home shaking. I didn't sleep that night or the night after. I started avoiding that part of town altogether. But I couldn't stop wondering, why me? Why did he choose to talk to me? Maybe he saw something familiar. Maybe he was just lonely. Or maybe he was waiting for someone to notice him again. The thought haunted me. People move on. Places change. But some things stay. The air remembers. The walls remember. And sometimes the ones left behind just want to be seen again. 6 years later, I still live in Belridge. I drive past that Taco Bell sometimes on my way home from work. They remodeled it last year. New paint, new windows, brighter lights. But every now and then, late at night, when the parking lot is empty and the neon sign flickers, I glance at that window. And sometimes, I swear I see a boy sitting there, smiling softly, waiting for someone to wave back. I always do. Story 6, I never thought much about late-night food runs. I mean, what's there to worry about? A quiet drive-through, some sleepy employees, the hum of the fryer, and the glow of a neon open sign. It was always comforting in a weird way, something steady in a world that never stopped changing. But after what happened in July, I can't look at a Taco Bell the same way again. My name's Ethan Cole, and I live in a small city just outside Flagstaff, Arizona. I'm 21, a full-time college student trying to juggle bills, classes, and a night shift at a gas station off Route 89. Life's been a blur lately. Work, school, and exhaustion on repeat. Most nights I leave work around 11:30 p.m., too tired to cook, too hungry to wait till morning. So I usually hit the same Taco Bell about 10 minutes from my job. That place was my routine, my reset button, until that night. It was a Tuesday, and it had been one of those brutal shifts where every customer seems to test your patience. I remember wiping down the counter at 11:28 p.m., glancing at the clock and thinking, thank God I'm done. My coworker Max was half asleep against the coffee machine. You heading straight home? He asked. Nah, I said, grabbing my jacket. Gonna grab something to eat first. Haven't had a bite since noon, he smirked. Let me guess. Taco Bell again? I grinned. You already know. He laughed, shaking his head. Bro, one day you're gonna turn into a crunch wrap. Worth it, I muttered, pushing through the glass doors into the humid July night. The drive there was quiet. No traffic, no music. Just the steady hum of my old Honda. The streets were nearly empty, the air still heavy with leftover heat from the day. When I turned into the Taco Bell parking lot, though, I felt something off. The place looked dead. No cars, no drive-through lights, not even that faint buzz from the sign. Usually the lobby would be dark, but the drive-through still glowed faintly. Tonight, the whole building looked hollow, like a shell. I slowed down, hesitating. Maybe they closed early. Still, the glowing menu board was on, the intercom light blinking faintly red. I rolled up to the speaker. Hello? I said. You guys still open? For a few seconds, there was nothing but static. Then, a voice crackled through. Low, muffled, like someone whispering too close to the mic. I froze. It wasn't words. It was just noise. Wet, garbled breathing. I frowned. Sorry, I didn't catch that. You open or dash question mark static. Then again the voice, closer this time. A faint hiss like someone exhaling into the mic. I felt my pulse tick up. Okay. Guess not, I muttered, trying to laugh it off. I put the car in drive and I started to roll forward. The first window, dark. The second, my breath caught. Someone was standing there, right behind the glass. At first I thought it was an employee, until the shape moved slightly, stepping just close enough for the light from my headlights to hit their face. White, painted, a clown mask, the kind you'd see at a Halloween store. Cheap plastic, but the smile was carved too wide, the red lips smeared across the chin. The eyes, just two black holes. The instant the light touched him, the figure ducked, vanishing behind the counter. Holy shit, I whispered. I slammed my foot on the gas, tires squealing as I tore out of the parking lot. My heart was hammering so loud it drowned out everything else. I didn't stop until I reached a Chevron station 2 blocks away. I parked under the bright lights, chest heaving, trying to make sense of what I'd just seen. Someone was inside. Someone wearing a mask. But the store had been dark. Closed. Who the hell was that? I stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror. The image of that painted grin burned into my mind. For a second, I thought about calling the cops. But what would I even say? There's a guy in a mask at Taco Bell? It sounded insane, and technically not illegal. So I did what most people would do. I convinced myself it was nothing. Some idiot pulling a prank. Maybe an employee goofing off after hours. I went home, forced down a sandwich, and told myself to forget it. But the next night, I found out it wasn't a prank. I got off early, around 10:30. My stomach was growling, and despite everything, my brain said, "You know you're going to end up there again." The Taco Bell looked normal this time. Cars in the drive-thru, lights glowing, that familiar purple sign humming. I pulled in, half relieved, half on edge. "Welcome to Taco Bell. Go ahead whenever you're ready," a cheerful voice said over the speaker. I let out a nervous laugh. "Yeah, can I get a number 8 and a large Baja Blast?" "Sure thing, totals $8.62. Please pull forward." When I reached the window, a girl in her 20s with a dark ponytail and a Taco Bell visor slid it open. She smiled. "Hey, how's it going?" "Good," I said, handing over my card. "Hey, quick question. Were you guys open last night?" She frowned slightly. No. We closed early. Around 9, I think." "Why?" I hesitated. "It's probably nothing. I just drove by late and thought I saw someone in there." Her brow furrowed. "Someone?" "Like an employee," I swallowed. "No, it looked like someone wearing a clown mask." Her face changed instantly. The color drained from her cheeks. "A clown mask," she repeated quietly. "Yeah," I said. "White face, red mouth, black eyes, kind of like one of those cheap Halloween ones." For a second, she didn't say anything. Then she leaned closer to the window and whispered, "You're not the first person to say that." A chill crawled up my spine. "What do you mean?" She glanced over her shoulder before speaking again. "Couple months ago, a guy came through late. Said the same thing. Someone in the window, wearing a mask. He freaked out and called the police." My mouth went dry. "And they checked the security cameras." She paused, lowering her voice even more. "There was nothing there." I stared at her. "Nothing," she nodded slowly. "Just his car at the window. Nobody inside. No movement. Like he was talking to thin air." For a moment, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the faint hum of the fryer behind her. She sighed. "Management doesn't like talking about it. But ever since that night, we all leave right at closing. No one stays late. Not anymore." I didn't say another word. Just nodded, grabbed my food, and drove off. That was 2 months ago. I haven't been back since. But sometimes when I drive past that same Taco Bell on my way home, I still slow down. Just a little. And sometimes, if it's really late, I swear I see a faint light flicker behind the window. A shadow that moves just a little too quickly. And every single time, I hit the gas before I can look twice. Because I know what I saw that night wasn't just a prank. And I know whatever's standing inside that darkened building isn't supposed to be there. Friends, be sure to tell in the comments which story you liked the most. And don't forget to subscribe and like.